Someone raises their voice, not even yelling, just louder than normal, and your body reacts before your brain catches up. Your chest tightens, your heart races, you freeze, or you shut down completely, or you start apologizing for things you didn't do. And everyone else in the room is fine. They don't even notice. But you're back to being 7 years old, terrified, small, waiting for what comes next. If you flinch when someone raises their voice, this one's for you. What I'm about to explain will finally make sense of why loud voices feel like danger. Why anger terrifies you even when it's not directed at you. Why you can't just calm down when someone tells you to. Stay with me. Here's what's happening. Your nervous system learned that raised voices equal threat, not disagreement, not passion, threat. Because when you were a kid, raised voices meant something bad was coming. Punishment, violence, rejection, abandonment. So your body wired itself to respond to volume like it's a warning siren. And now, decades later, it still does. Think about it. When you were little, maybe someone yelled before they hit, or yelled and then ignored you for days, or yelled and said things that cut deeper than any physical wound. So your brain built a simple equation. Loud voice equals danger. And that equation still runs in the background. Every single day. Even when you're safe. Even when the person raising their voice isn't mad at you. Even when it's just someone excited or passionate or loud by nature. That's not weakness. That's survival programming. Your body is doing exactly what it was trained to do. Protect you. By going into high alert the second volume increases. By making you small. By making you freeze or flee or fawn. Because that's what kept you safe back then. Psychologists call this an acoustic startle response. But it's more than that. It's trauma, when sound becomes a trigger. When someone's tone can send you spiraling. When you spend conversations monitoring volume instead of listening to words. That's your nervous system stuck in the past, reacting to old danger like it's happening right now. Here's what this looks like as an adult. Someone at work gets frustrated, raises their voice slightly, and you're done. You can't focus. You can't think. You're just trying not to cry or run or shut down completely. And everyone else moves on in 5 seconds. But you're still shaking an hour later, replaying it, wondering what you did wrong, even though you didn't do anything. Or you're in a relationship, a healthy one, and your partner raises their voice during a sports game, or because they're excited, or just because they're naturally loud, and you flinch, you tense up, you go quiet, and they don't understand. Because to them, it's just noise. But to you, it's a threat. It's danger. It's everything bad that ever happened wrapped up in a sound. Let me paint you a picture. You're 5 years old. You drop a glass. It shatters. And before you can even process what happened, there's yelling. Big, angry, loud yelling. And you're frozen. You don't know if you should run or apologize or clean it up or just disappear. Your body is flooded with fear. Your brain is screaming danger. And from that moment on, loud voices mean one thing. You're in trouble. Fast forward to now. You're an adult. Someone raises their voice in traffic, or in a meeting, or on TV. And your body reacts the same way it did when you were 5. Heart pounding, breath shallow, fight or flight activated. Because your nervous system doesn't know the difference between then and now. It just knows loud equals threat. And it's trying to keep you alive. Here's the truth. You're not overreacting. You're not too sensitive. You're not being dramatic. Your body is having a physiological response to a learned trigger. This is real. This is trauma. And it's not your fault. Let's talk about what happens in your brain. When you hear a raised voice, your amygdala lights up. That's the fear center. It sends signals to your body faster than your thinking brain can process. Before you even consciously register what's happening, your body is already in defense mode. Cortisol floods your system. Your muscles tense. Your focus narrows. You're in survival mode, all from a sound. And here's what makes it worse. People don't get it. They tell you to calm down, to not take it so seriously, to stop being so sensitive, but you can't just calm down. Because this isn't about logic. This isn't about choice. This is your nervous system doing what it was programmed to do. And their dismissal? It makes you feel crazy, like you're broken, like you're the problem, but you're not the problem. The problem was growing up in an environment where loud voices meant danger, where anger was unpredictable, where you had to read tone and volume just to know if you were safe. That's the problem, not you. Not your body's response. That response saved you. It's just still running, even though the danger is gone. Think about this. Some people hear yelling and just think someone's upset. You hear yelling and your entire system goes into crisis mode. You're not in the same conversation they're in. You're in a different reality, one where loud equals dangerous, where raised voices mean something terrible is about to happen, and you can't logic your way out of that. Because it's not happening in your logical brain. It's happening in your survival brain. Here's what nobody tells you. This doesn't just affect you in the moment. It affects everything. Your relationships, your work, your ability to handle conflict. Because when you can't tolerate raised voices, you can't handle normal disagreement. You shut down. You avoid. You people please just to keep volume low, and that's exhausting. Living your life trying to control everyone's tone so you don't get triggered. Let's talk about relationships. If you flinch at raised voices, you probably attract one of two types of people. Either someone who's quiet and safe but you never fully trust, or someone who's loud and volatile and confirms everything your nervous system already believes about danger. Neither works. Because one keeps you on edge waiting for them to snap, and the other keeps you traumatized by actually snapping. Or maybe you end up alone. Because relationships require conflict, and conflict often involves raised voices, and you can't do that. So you stay alone, where it's quiet, where it's safe, where no one can hurt you with their volume, but you're also lonely. Because safety came at the cost of connection, here's what changing this looks like. It's not about toughening up. It's not about exposure therapy where you just force yourself to tolerate yelling. It's about teaching your nervous system that loud doesn't always equal danger. And that's hard, because you have years of evidence that it does. You start small. Someone raises their voice, and instead of spiraling, you pause. You notice your body's reaction. You name it. This is my nervous system reacting to a trigger. I'm safe right now. You don't fight the fear. You just acknowledge it, and you stay present, even when everything in you wants to flee. And you communicate. You tell people, I struggle with raised voices. It's not about you. It's about my past. Can you lower your volume when we talk? Some people will get it, some won't. The ones who do are worth keeping. The ones who don't, they're not your people. Here's something important. You're allowed to have boundaries around volume. You're allowed to leave conversations that feel unsafe. You're allowed to ask people to speak calmly. That's not weakness. That's self-protection. And you don't owe anyone an explanation for why loud voices affect you this way. Let me tell you something you need to hear. The person who taught you to fear raised voices didn't just hurt you in that moment. They changed how your nervous system works. They made sound a weapon. They turned volume into a threat, and that's not something you just get over. That's something you heal from, slowly, with patience, with compassion for yourself. The kid who learned to flinch at yelling wasn't weak. They were smart. They were paying attention. They were surviving. And that flinch kept them safe. But now that kid is grown, and the danger they were protecting themselves from, it's not there anymore. Not in every raised voice. Not in every loud moment. But the body doesn't know that yet. The body is still protecting that kid. So if you're someone who flinches when someone raises their voice, who shuts down in conflict, who can't handle loud people even when they're not mad, you're not broken. You're not too much. You're not overreacting. You're carrying a nervous system that learned to survive in a world where volume meant violence. And now you're learning to live in a world where it doesn't. And that's hard. Harder than most people will ever understand. Tell me, do you flinch when someone raises their voice? Drop it in the comments. Let's find our people. And if this hit you hard, subscribe. The next video is about people who feel guilty for taking up space. And it's not humility, it's trauma. You'll want to watch that. Click it.